What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first how to use guide on my channel. Today we'll be looking at Iron Crown. We'll be reviewing its stats, abilities, and its strengths and weaknesses. Afterward, I'll be showing off my favorite sets for the Pokemon. And finally, we'll be covering some other useful moves and set ideas that weren't mentioned in the moveset guides. I'll have timestamps as well in case you want to skip between sections. Give this video a big like and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more guides like this in the future. And I do want to say for these guides before we dive into it that these guides are, some of them are very EV and meta specific, but they're always just kind of a baseline, You don't have to take the exact moveset, exact EV spread. You can always kind of tailor them to what your team needs. Use these guides as a baseline to inspire your own team building. Iron Crown is a Psychic and Steel type released in the Indigo DLC. It's a Paradox form of Cobalion, and like all other Paradox, Future Paradox, it has the ability Quark Drive, which increases its highest stat when standing on electric terrain or when holding the booster energy item. It has a stat spread of 90 HP, 72 attack, 100 defense, 122 special attack, pretty strong, 108 special defense, also pretty solid, and then a pretty good speed of 98, bringing it to a grand total of a very strong and respectable 590. So let's get on to the movesets. Alright, first set we have here, this is the Calm Mind set. This is my favorite way to run Iron Crown, and personally I think it's the best way to run it in 3v3s specifically. It can work in 6v6 formats if you'd like it to. I use this set every month to get myself into Master Ball tier in ranked 3v3s, and I will link a video showing off the team in the description below if you want to check out this set and just the team that I use in general. So obviously we've got Quark Drive, we don't really have a choice there. We're going to be running a Timid Nature with a special spread, 252 speed, 172 special attack, and 84 defense. This set at level 50 will give our booster energy a boost to our speed stat, which is going to be very important. Because when you've got that boost to your speed stat, you outspeed all non-scarfed or boosted Pokemon up to a base stat of 172. You're only outsped by Regieleki and Deoxys speed naturally. For this set, I really like Terra Dark. It gives you resistances to key priority moves like Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch. There's a lot of that with Chen Pao and King Gamut. And it gives you a resistance to Shadow Ball from Fluttermane if you want to catch them off guard on that turn. Any turn that affords you the opportunity to set up a Calm Mind is absolutely critical. You could go Terra Fighting to give yourself 3 stab moves if you want. Don't recommend that as highly as Terra Dark. Terra Dark also removes some of your weaknesses like Ground, which helps you against Landorus and Blood Moon Ursaluna, and Fire, which helps you against Chi-Yu and Gouging Fire. Calm Mind really unlocks the set because this Pokemon doesn't have a bad stat after a Calm Mind. You're speedy because of the booster energy, you have your special attack and special defense boosted after a Calm Mind, and Iron Crown naturally has a good defense and HP stat. So racking up as many if you can get a couple Calm Minds in the game, it's pretty much GG's outside of certain priority moves, depending on how much HP you have. Tachyon Cutter, Iron Crown's signature move. It's 50 base power. It's a special steel type move that hits twice. Also never checks accuracy, so you're safe to swing into those super cheesy minimized Drifblim sets or the Muck with minimize, whatever it may be. So actually ends up being 100 base power with the 2 hits, and then you factor in the stab. Super useful for breaking multiscale, focus sashes, and then inflicting damage after breaking a Substitute or Mimikyu Disguise. Do not leave home without Tachyon Cutter on your Iron Crown. I like Psyshock over Psychic in 3v3 generally speaking because it hits on the physical side, punishing Blissey, Clodsire, and Fluttermane. Psychic can work if you find yourself running into a lot of Toxapex, and in formats where maybe special defenses are more susceptible. If you're in like a 6v6 format, maybe you can go with Psychic. Personally, I'm a Psyshock kind of guy, but that is all season to taste. Focus Blast is how we round out the set. It gives us much needed coverage against opposing steel types, and it hits dark types that might resist Tachyon Cutter. Sometimes you have to throw out a Hail Mary with this move to get the win, but like I said, I've used this set in Master Ball and 3v3 for Regulation F every single month and got myself to Master Ball with it. Every time a new season starts, I pick up this team with Iron Crown on it, and I just go for gold. Our next set is pretty similar, but we're going to be tapping into a different move, and that's Agility. We're running a nice simple EV spread at max speed and special attack with a timid nature, got the Quark Drive, and due to Iron Crown's stat spread, we'll be getting a special attack boost with our booster energy here. Terra Dark once again recommended, but there are other options you can take based on your coverage needed for your team. Agility is our main boosting move, and this gets you ahead of basically the entire game. Unless you run into some sort of wild Scarfed Red You're Lucky, then I'm sorry, you got trolled. Most importantly, this makes you faster than all booster speed Pokemon and opens up the door for a lot of important one-hit KOs. With Tachyon Cutter, you obviously are handling things like Flutter Mane, Chien-Pao, Iron Bundle, really nice against things that like to run sashes like maybe a Breloom. Psyshock once again handles the same threats as it did before. On this set, we're running Terra Blast. Terra Dark once again offers the same defensive utility, but now gives us coverage against Ghost and Psychic types, most notably Goldengo, Basculegion, Sandrush, Houndstone, to name a few. I think Water could work because you're removing a lot of the same weaknesses as like when you're Terra Dark, but now it adds coverage against Chi-Yu, also gives you a resistance, and also helps you get a pretty key resistance against Rapid Strike Urshifu as well, who is quite the menace in 3v3s. So now when it comes to other moves for this Pokemon, it does not have like the deepest move pool, and it can fit some other niches, but the problem is other Pokemon fit those roles a lot better than Iron Crown. First move I want to point out here would be Volt Switch. Volt Switch is pretty solid. 98 speed is pretty good to pair with it, but you're not breaking down any barriers in Scarlet and Violet because this game is a lot faster than Sword and Shield. Volt Switch I think is best on a Scarf or an Assault Vest version, but this Pokemon has too many common weaknesses in my personal opinion to justify being a pivoting option when it doesn't have access to reliable recovery or just like great speed in general. Rotom is obviously like the superior Volt Switcher, and it's got natural bulk and it's got access to Pain Split. It's immune to ground type moves. Just overall a better Pokemon for the role. Cinderace with boots is already, you know, nice and speedy, hits hard with Protean, like that's probably a better pivot. Then you got Rillaboom too, which tanks hits a little bit better with an Assault Vest. It also offers team-wide healing with grassy terrain. So I do like Volt Switch, just don't love it. So another move I want to talk about is Stored Power. This Pokemon gets a lot of decent boosting moves like Iron Defense, and like to a lesser extent something like Swords Dance. It does get Swords Dance, but it gets Calm Mind as well, like we talked about. I have seen sets that are like Iron Defense, Stored Power, Calm Mind, and Tachyon Cutter. I think that's a really cool set. The big problem with this is, again, the amount of like really common weaknesses that this Pokemon has. So it becomes an absolute Terra hog, and flexibility is really important when it comes to using your Terra. So I don't necessarily recommend that set, especially not in 3v3s, but if you want to try something like that in 6v6, absolutely go for it. So that's going to do it for the guide. Let me know what you thought of it and what you thought of Iron Crown in general. I really do think Iron Crown takes some outside the box thinking to pull off. And I would even go as far as to say that I think it's an underrated Pokemon. It can be an absolute game changer when it's used right. Don't forget to support me with a subscription. It's the easiest way for you to show me support. I appreciate it. If you made it this far, let me know who you want to see next. And until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.